one thing I did today also is I sent to Manjalali Mataji the what do you call them, the PDFs for the mantra cards, um, just because she hasn't been able to get up for the classes. I thought it'd be helpful. I was wondering if anyone else would find that helpful if I send out the mantra cards. There's just the PDF, and you can print them out yourself and cut them up. Would that be useful or not?
Yes, bro, it will be definitely helpful as well.
Okay. All right, so I'll post them in the chat later on.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let us start with mantras as we've done. Now, there's a good number of devotees in the next room practicing, so I thought it would be more important for them to practice rather than attend the session. They can attend the session later. I think that's going to be much more beneficial to them. Okay, so here we go with our mantras. Okay. And we'll start off. Asan Stapana. Prithvi Tvaya Drita Loka Devi Tvam Vishnuna Drita. Tram Chadaraya Mam Nityam Pavitram Chasanam Kuru. O Mother Earth, O Goddess, you support all the world's people, and Lord Vishnu sustains you. Please constantly support me and make my seat pure. Guru Pankni Namaskaram. Shri Guru Paramananda Premananda Paraprada Brajananda Pradhananda Sevayamna Mamniyo Jaya. Please repeat along, like say it in unison. It's much nicer to hear you all vibrate. I'm not so worried about the lack of synchronicity. It's fine if you're just repeating. My dear spiritual
Spiritual
master,
master, who give the fruit of the highest bliss,
the
the
bliss
bliss
of
of
love
love of
I have.
Godhead.
Please
Please
engage
engage me in
me
the
in the
blissful
blissful
service of
service
Sri
of Sri
Krishna,
Krishna.
who bestows bliss upon the land of Raja.
Pushpa Shuddhi.
Suddhi.
Om Pushpe
Pushpe,
Pushpe
Pushpe,
Maha
Pushpe,
Pushpe Supushpe
Supushpe,
Pushpa
Pushpa
Sambhave
Sambhave,
Pushpe
Pushpe Chaya
Chayavine
Karne Chaham Phat Swaha.
Swaha. O
O
flowers,
flowers,
O
O
great
great and auspicious
flowers,
flowers, who appeared from a budding creeper, may you be purified.
purified. Bhuta
Buddha.
Shuddhi. I am by nature
By
the
nature, the
exalted
eternal
of
servant of
Krishna,
Krishna,
but
but because
because
of
of my
bad
bad
fortune, I have been
being
inimical
inimical
toward him
toward him
from
from
time
time
immemorial,
immemorial,
and
and
thus
thus I
I have identified
identified
myself with
myself
the
with my
body
body
and
and
continuously wandered in the
the cycle
cycle
of
of
birth and death in the material world, suffering the burning threefold miseries. Now, as a result of some unimaginable good fortune, my spiritual master's mercy
sea,
has
has
enabled me
enabled
to
me to
know that I
know
am
that I am
Krishna's
Krishna's
eternal
eternal
servant,
servant,
an
an
infinitesimal
infinitesimal
spiritual
spiritual
being,
being completely
completely
apart from the
absorbed in
gross
both
sensual
both
body.
body. And
And
so,
so, by the
the
order
Lord of
of
my
my
spiritual
spiritual
master,
master,
I
I have
obtained
obtained the
the
good fortune of serving his
lotus
lotus
feet,
feet.
following in
And
his
following in his
footsteps,
footsteps,
of the lotus
lotus
feet
feet
of
of
Sri
Lord
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Mahaprabhu
Mahaprabhu and
and
Lord Nityananda.
Nityananda. Na ham
Nam
vipro
Vipro
chara rapi rapi
Nacharati
vaishno na
Navini
sudro
Vishnu
na
Sudra
hang vani na chagrihe
Nichakratir
pandino manusuyati
Sudhigitava
va kintu
Kintu
pradyan
Prodhyam
nikhilam
Nikhilam
paramananda
Pramanande
purnamudite
Pranabudhar
gopi bhata pada kamala
Udamayo
dasa
Dasa and Dasa.
dasa. I'm not a
Not a
Brahmana,
Brahmana, I'm not a
I'm
Kshatriya,
not a
I'm not a
Vaishya,
Vaishya or a Shudra, nor
nor
am I
am I
Brahmachari, a
solitary,
householder,
household,
Vanapastha or a sannyasi.
Yasi.
I identify myself only as servant of the servant of the servant of the
Servant
lotus
of the
feet of
servant
Lord Sri
of the
Krishna,
servant of the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna,
paint of the
maintainer
gopis.
of the gopis.
He is like an
An
ocean
ocean
of
of nectar,
nectar
and he's
and
the
is a
cause
cause
of
of
universal
universal transcendental
bliss.
bliss.
He is
He is
always
always existing with
brilliant.
brilliance. Kanta Puja.
Anta Puja. Etakanta
Ite Kanta
Pushpayam
Pushpe,
Jayadvani
Nitani
Matra
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 Swaha
Swaha.
Shankha Puja.
Ite
Etakanta
Kanta
Pushpe Om
Pushpe,
Hong 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 Namaha
Shankaya
Shankaya
Swaha.
Swaha. Dham Dhyan. At the Yoga Pit in
Yogi in Sri
Mayapur,
Mayapur,
in the
in the
spiritual
spiritual
abode
abode
of
of
Navadvip,
Navadvip,
Lord
Lord
Gaurasundar
Gautama
sits
sits
on
on
a
a
jewel
jewel
throne.
throne.
On his
On his
right
right is
is
Lord
Lord
Nityananda,
Nityananda,
left is Radharani. In front, with joint palms are Sri Advaita and Sri Vastakura, who holds an umbrella over Lord Chaitanya's head. On a jeweled platform below Lord Nityananda's throne, my spiritual master sits.
Dhyana.
Dhyana.
Tata Sriman
Sriman
Navadvipe
Navadvipe
Dvinetram
Dvinetram
Vibhujam
Vibhujam
Gurum
Gurum
Bharamaya
Bharabhya
Padam
Pradam Santam
Smarakam
Smaretam
Namapurvakam.
Mahapurvakam.
In the
In the morning, one should remember the spiritual
Master,
master as being
treasure
Sri
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 Navadvipa,
Navadvipa,
having
having
two
two
eyes,
eyes and two
one,
arms, as
being
being
peaceful,
peaceful
bestowing
and as
all
bestowing
benediction and
all
goodness
benediction and
upon
goodness upon chanting his name.
Srila Prabhupada Stuti.
Stuti.
From Gopika
Gopal,
Yaravestana Yantikesi Sevadikarini Guru Nijapada Padme Dasham Pradaya Puramam Brajakanane
Radhangri Sevana Rase,
Radhangri Sevanarasa Sukhinam
Kinam Skabdo,
Sukhato. I
O
meant
beloved,
to fix this because the
brothers and
Shri,
sisters of God called Radha.
the Vaishnavas, the Shri is actually meant to be on the end of the third line. So it's
Kanani Shri. Okay.
because Dasham Pradaya Kurumam Brajana Kanana Dasham Pradaya Kurumam Brajakanane Shri Radangri Sevane Rase Sukhinam Sukhabdo, because then it rhymes.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Oh, beloved
Dear
spiritual
spiritual
master,
master,
you are
you are
always in
always
the
in the
presence
presence
of
of
the
the
cowherd
cowherd
girl
girl
Radha,
Radha,
the
the
daughter of
daughter
King
of King
Vrishabhanu.
Vrishabhanu.
Please award
Please
me
award me
service at the
service
lotus
at your
feet,
lotus feet, which
because
are
the
the
practice of
proprietors of
devotional
your
service.
service.
Please place
Please
me in
place
the
me in the
ocean
ocean of
of joy,
joy by bestowing
bestowing
upon
upon me
me
happiness in the
goodness and
flowers of
happiness of
service
service
of the lotus
lotus feet
of
of
Sri
Sri
Radha,
Krishna, Radha,
Rose of
Rose of
Brajaman,
Brajaman.
Nityananda, Navjan. Sadunya Sarupire Puritamati Prihat Pavati Sabhagam Gatram Ramya Ramavritam Sanmani
Sanmani
Kanakaha
Kanakamaha Sarma
Sadvatatai
Sandai
Paritam
Paritam
Nityam
Nityam Pradyolayo
Pratyalayo
Pranaya
Yatmanaya
Bharadara Sat Krishna
Sankirtanam
Sankirtanadyam
Sri
Sri
Vishnasavyabhinam
Vinamneti Abhinam Tri Jagadapam Sri Navadipadvam
Ide.
Ide.
I praise the
Praise the
holy
holy Dham of Navadvip, being entirely non-different from Sri Vrindavan.
Brahman,
It is completely different from the material world,
consisting of
consisting
three
of three
planetary
planetary
systems,
systems.
situated
Situated
on
on
the
the beautiful
beautiful banks
banks
of
of
the
the
Ganges.
Ganges, Navadvip is
Navdeep is
covered
covered
by
by
lovely
lovely
groves
and
and
it appears like the
it
back
appears at the back of a gigantic turtle.
that
The
whole
holy
Dham
Dham
is
is filled
filled
with
with
many great
great
palatial
rich
houses made
houses,
of gold and bedecked
gold
with
and
brilliant
bedecked with
jewels.
brilliant jewels.
And in those houses, devotees are
Houses
always
always
performing
performing
Krishna Kirtan in the middle of ecstatic
in
flow.
mellow ecstatic flow. Gauranga Dhyana. Shri Manmotaka Dhamma Pada Chakeram Susmera Chandraranam Shri Khanda Guru Charu Chitrasam Shakti Vibhusanchitam Ya Veshara Samoda Maduram Kaja Praveshojvalam Chaitanyam
Chaitanyam
Kanakadipim
Kanakadiyam
Nijajanai Sangsevimanam
Nijajanai.
Bhaje. I worship Sri
Ashwini
Chaitanya
Mahaprabhu is being served by all his devotees and associates, whose
Mahaprabhu.
hair is bound by strings of pearls and whose
Moonlike
moon-like
face,
face bears
and
an expressive
smile.
smile.
His
His
beautiful
beautiful
golden
golden
body
body
is
is
adorned
adorned
with
with lovely garments,
anointed with
anointed with
sandalwood
sandalwood,
and arupa, and bedecked with
bedecked with
garlands and
garlands
bracelets
and
and
wreaths
ornaments.
and string ornaments.
He is
He is
extremely
extremely
charming,
charming,
absorbed in
absorbed
the
as he
ecstasy of
enjoying
the
the
sweet
sweet
melodies
melodies
of
of
dancing,
dancing,
and
and
his
his
dress
dress
is
is
more
more splendid
splendid
than
than
even
Cupid.
good cupids.
Auranga Stuti.
Aurangastati.
Anapitacharim Chira Karuna
Karuna
Vitina
Karanakala
Kalo Samapayatam
Samapetam Supudvarasam
Udvala
Surabhakti
Rasam Sabakti
Sriyam
Sriyam Hari
Hariputra Sundaraditi
Purusharam
Kadam
Prasannitita
Vasandipata
Sada
Sada
Hridaya
Hridaya
Kandre
Kandare
Surucho
Swaropa Satchidananda.
Satchinandana. May that
May
Lord who
that
is
Lord
known
who
as as
is
the
known
Son
as
of
Son of Shiva Sachidev be translated in the
situated
innermost
in the
core of
innermost
your
core of
heart.
your heart.
Resplendent with the radiance
Radiance
of
of
molten
molten
gold,
gold.
he
He
has
descended
descended
in
in
the
the
age
age
of
of
Kali by
Kali
his causeless
by
mercy
his
to
causeless
bestow
mercy
what no
to
incarnation
bestow
has
what no
ever
incarnation
before.
has
The
ever
most
afforded
elevated
before.
mellow of devotional service, the mellow
Most
of,
elevated
of,
beloved
of
service, the beloved Kanchana.
Anga, upper shoulder.
Radha
Angahinam
Angahinam Kriyahinam
Krishnahinam
Vidihinam Chain
Vinihinam
Bhavet
Chayad Bhavet
Swayam.
Astu Tatsambam Chitram Krishna Karshna Prasadata Yat Kinchid Vaikunam Jatam Tadosha Prasamanaya Sri Krishna Smaranam Karomi. The presence of Krishna and his devotees nullify all the mistakes we've made in our observance of the rules of worship and in our performance of the acts of worship. I now remember Krishna, nullify whatever faults I may have been. Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama.
Rama, Hare Hare.
So also you may have noticed that on WhatsApp I sent out a list of mantras that we'd like you to know, because they will be part of the assessment. So when you get assessed, you know, of course we don't really assess if you get them right or not, but it's good if you can know them. Also, it will help you with the assessment, because by knowing those mantras, you'll know the different steps of the assessment. Okay. So, and I haven't managed to get all the information I need to be able to send out an updated schedule. But as far as I'm aware, we have an on-site class tomorrow. Oh, you have your hand up, Chitravalasini?
Sorry. Yeah, there's two other things that I don't know. One is at the end of doing the full Ajman, there's Tad Om
You
Vishnu.
don't need to know that mantra.
Okay, and the offenses at the end, I don't.
You don't, but if you look at the document I sent to the WhatsApp group, I mean, I would say that a good number of those mantras you already know, especially the longer mantras you already know. So for most of you, it'll just be a matter of trying your best to learn the various Upachar mantras. If you don't get them all, it's not a it's not a great loss, because you will learn them over time. But at least things like obviously Guru Pranam prayers, Prabhupada Pranam prayers, and I put the proper spelling there because some devotees they say different things, which are basically indicating that Prabhupada is the servant of the Saraswati River. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
And just different things like that. Also, Namo Mahabharanya and Namo Brahmanyaya, the two prayers from the Govinda prayers, which we chant every morning in the temple. Basic things like that. There's nothing too complex. We're not trying to turn this into a mantra class.
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
That's why you'll find in the worship, even like the pranam mantra for Lord Chaitanya, most of you probably already know that, Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate.
Mhm.
So it's not like we're expecting you to learn complicated names, mantras. If you don't know the mantra, just when you get to Aparad Shodhana, just say Aparad Shodhana. That's simple.
Okay.
You get
Right.
to the just when you get to the end of the archman, just say Om Tad Vishnu.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
See, like what we're really testing you for here is the sequence. Yeah. So if you know the sequence, this is what we're testing it. Not how well you learn mantras. In Mayapur, we run a mantra course that goes the whole time this course is going. So every morning for half an hour, devotees chant mantras.
Mm.
So we don't have that scope here. So just do the best you can.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So and I'm hoping to have that information about the days next week tonight. Um, And basically what we're looking at is so we have tonight online, we have tomorrow night on site, and we have Saturday and Sunday on site here. Then what I'm aiming to get is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then Sunday of next week, all on site. Because that way we can get the assessments in and the necessary practices. So let's hope that that's what happens. And I'll send I'll send you all the actually I can do that right now just so I know. I'll just pop them in the chat. Um, um, yeah, just so you've got access to these cards so you can do it at home, so you don't have to just do it here. Because the experience I've had since we started we introduced them last year, that devotees really it really helps them to learn the procedure. All right, so I've just popped them in the WhatsApp chat. Yes, Russell Prabhu.
Harish Prabhu. Prabhu, just want to check one thing. On the assessment side, will we be tested right from the items, the ingredients, then Achman, and then the full worship of Gaurani Prabhu, or will it be done separately, the Achman and items identification, the ingredients identification,
Start to finish.
start to finish?
Yeah. So what happens is on the day of the first assessment, what we'll do is we'll give you all before the assessment time starts, before the assessment period starts, we'll give you all a sheet. I think I showed that to you when we explained the assessment, and you just check all the ingredients that go in the padya in the arga, the arch and mother park. Okay, so that's we don't actually assess it when you're doing it because it's like when we do in Mayapur, we usually have 5 groups or 6 groups going at one time, and six times 4 is 24 people making up all these different ingredients. It's not possible for us to look at each ingredient and assess it. So we devise this form. So, okay, you do the check boxes in the form. And like, I might look at what you've made and say, well, there's too much spice in the Archman, for instance, stuff like that, because the idea is the water should be flavored, not that there should be all these like little chewy bits in the Archman water. Yeah. But so basically, Archman, we'll fit that in during the week, this coming week. So we will start. I think our start time is 6:30. So then 6:30 till 7, we'll be doing. We'll do Archman. We'll do the mantras. Then Merlin Mahal will assess the Archman cups, and then we'll do about 20 minutes of. It looked like you're on a train, Keisha. We'll do 20 minutes of Archman assessments. Yeah. So that'll be the actual assessment. And then we'll do practice. We'll have some practices, and then we'll just start doing the assessment. Yeah. So I think on Sunday night, this is just a tentative schedule because I'm just waiting for feedback from Deepa Datri, so we can actually start it. So basically Sunday, all day Sunday is practice. And yeah, let me see. Values and attitudes. I'm sorry, I'm looking the wrong way. So all day Saturday's practice. We'll do the Archman in the morning. Then all day Saturday's practice. Then also Sunday we do Archman in the morning. Then it's till 5:55 we have practice. Then 6:05 to 8 p.m. will be our first assessment, and we need everyone to be present for that because then you'll get to see how the whole assessment thing works. Yeah. Manjulali.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Is it possible that I could be assessed like maybe on the Sunday the 10th, just because I haven't gone to any of the weekdays and I feel like I need a bit longer?
No, I understand. I
And
understand
then
that. Yeah, that's fine with
I
me.
just, and then the other thing is, if you would you be able to, yeah, I suppose continue to post videos of during the week, like you
Sure,
had the
sure.
ones that would be helpful,
Yeah,
so that I could just keep watching them because I'll miss out. So even if they are just, a few
yeah,
few minutes long, it's really helpful.
yeah.
And then the other thing I was going to say is, would there be any possibility, and it's okay if there isn't, but on the Saturday, I know obviously it's Balaram's Appearance Day, but whether there might be any possibility of being able to do 1 hour or something, of just because I've missed out on all the,
Yeah.
whether I could just do a practice for
Yeah.
an
I'm
hour.
I'm okay with that. What I would suggest is if you communicate with, say, Deepa Datri Mataji and just try
Yeah,
to find out what that hour would be,
yeah.
because my understanding of it is that this space is just like jam-packed with people the whole.
Oh,
Yes.
really? The whole day?
Yeah, but just check with her,
Okay.
find out, because it may be worth your while coming up, and then certainly we can make some arrangement whereby if it does work out in terms of time wise, because I would imagine like at some point it's not going to be completely jam packed. Maybe in the morning, maybe in the evening. I don't know what the schedule is right now, but I can have a look at the
Okay.
schedule. But contact Deepa Jatri. Or
Yeah,
even Vunksy. Vunksy might be a better contact. I don't know because he might be more aware because he lives in the temple.
yeah.
He's more aware of what it's like.
Okay. Okay,
And
thank you.
if we can work out a slot for you, then definitely we'll support that as best we can. Okay,
Okay,
because
thank you.
we want to see everyone get across the finish line. Yeah, you include Chitra Vilasini.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know if you want to continue talking about individual cases, but because I was trying to prepare for this Sunday assessment.
Yeah,
That was the goal. But you were talking about making items up, like
yeah,
magic. I don't, I've not had a go at things like that, so I don't know
yeah.
how that's going to be. And also there was mention of a tutorial on Friday, and I haven't heard about that, so I'm kind of
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I've been trying to get as much time as I can here so that you can all come and practice as much as you want. But, being a Soho Street is a very small compressed space, and there's so many different groups. I mean, I don't think I know any temple that has as much activity going on as this temple anywhere in the world. And I travel to quite a lot of temples, and there's so much going on here in such a tiny space that it's really hard to get time. And so we were planning to do something, but then I guess, like, a bit of that would depend on Shiva Amraj's timings also. So again, if you reach out to Vangsi, and he can let you know what times the space is available, then certainly one of us can come and assist, either myself or Murli or Vangsi. Yeah. So just if you can find the time, let us know, and we'll be there. One of us will be there to help. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll post a message. Yeah, I've planned Friday. I've already. That's
That's just during the day. From what Murli Manohar was telling me, there's pandemonium in this building, but what time that is spread over, I have no idea.
okay. All right.
Shall we move on with the class?
Sorry, I just wanted to just quickly say as well. Luckily for you, actually, I've got childcare for tomorrow's session. My husband's back, so I don't have to bring my little one with me. But I also wanted to say that Friday is the only day that I can do the tutorial, but it will be with my little one.
Okay. At least we'll get a chance to meet him.
Yeah. So I can only do Friday tutorial because I'm coming in tomorrow anyway. So should I contact Bumsy?
Yeah. Contact Bunksy, sort it out. If we can find a time, we will, and we'll support what you need, Okay. And then Saturday and Sunday also, the whole day will be practice. So just make sure you get there. Try and get as many practices as you can. I think tomorrow with our practice, what we're going to be doing is looking at what are we? Saturday, Sunday, Friday. Yeah, we'll be concluding the worship from Naivedya to Pranam. So it means we'll do the same idea with 3 in a group and just rotate through. So you can try to get a couple of times doing that, and then coming on Saturday, we'll put it all together. So you've got the whole sort of picture of it. Yeah. Is that okay? Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to start this class a little bit over time, but that's all right. It's important discussion. So let me see here. Share screen. Manage. Portion of screen. I'm not sure how this is going to work out, because usually I have 2 screens when I do this sort of stuff. It's much easier to do slideshows with 2 screens. Okay, so here we go. You can see that, right, where it says boiling the milk? Okay, good. All right, so this one here is I mean, I really like this class myself, and this is why I usually do this. Merle does the next one. This one's talking about values and attitudes, and we see that, like, I'll show you the next slide. This will give you an idea of, like, what do you think this picture here would have to do in relation to values, attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors? Any thoughts on that?
There is a lot beneath than what we show and what we carry.
So what we show and what we carry, what would that be, Parameshwara?
I mean, whether it is good or bad, it's difficult to, like, bring it out all the time. So good, bad qualities or conditioning, and though we are practicing, we may have some of our conditioning, or good, bad. It's mixture of both. So that's what.
So specifically in relation to beliefs, values, attitudes, and behavior.
Yeah.
What do you think? How do you think this would connect with that? Anyone else? Anyone else got any idea? Okay, so like, what do you see when we look at someone? What do we see? Like, say you see something walking down the street, they interact with someone. What do you see?
You just see their exterior and how they sort of come
Yeah,
across.
you see the behavior, yeah?
Yeah.
You see how they act, right? But then if you look at things like the beliefs, the values, and the attitudes, the attitudes you can also perceive, when someone has a particular attitude towards something, but the values and the beliefs, we don't see that. But the values, especially the beliefs and the values, are what underpin everything we do. And so the way I'm looking at this is the attitudes and the behavior. This is the iceberg above the water. The values which are below the water. If someone's got the right, just like I remember, an example I can give with Janani Vasprabhu. It's like he was given the service as the head pujari in Mayapur in 1972, I think, and he'd done that service ever since. Yet he didn't really have a lot of instruction in deity worship, but still he had the right attitude, he had the right values, and therefore he set about researching himself and trying to understand what it was that Srila Prabhupada wanted for deity worship in ISKCON. Yeah? So because he has the right values, because he has the right beliefs and attitude, then he's manifested very, very beautiful deity worship there in Mayapur. And of course, behavior. Right, so just a quick overview. We're going to look at definitions of beliefs, values, attitudes, and behavior. I'm going to be focusing more on dictionary definitions because they're quite simple to find, whereas to find these in terms of Prabhupada's teachings is quite a task, and you really have to go through a lot of different material to find them. Then we're going to explore the importance of beliefs, values, attitudes, and behavior, how these things affect us, and explore the process of developing beliefs, values, and attitudes. Yeah? All right, so then let's look at a belief, right? So, I mean, obviously, one of the first things we look at are what are our beliefs in ISKCON, for instance. And I'm not going to get into that too much right now, but we will discuss it later on. Has anyone heard of the Das Mula Tattva? Das Mula Tattva.
Yeah.
It's a book written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and it talks about the basic tenets of Krishna consciousness, or the beliefs of Krishna consciousness. So what happened is last year, the GBC, they've been working on this for a number of years. They finally published the Dasamula Tattva for ISKCON. And I'll share that with you in a little while, yeah? But right now we just want to, hang on, oh, okay. Yeah, so we'll go through that in a little while. Just the main points. I think you may be able to find the document online if you're actually interested in it. So we're going to look at beliefs. So, okay, a belief is accepting an acceptance that something exists or is true, especially one without proof. Just like name one belief you have which you can't prove, or it might take a bit of effort to prove.
That there's a God.
Yeah, a little bit more specific.
That this.
There's a God. That's good, but specifically.
That everything in this material world is this energy.
I was thinking more along the lines that Krishna is God.
Krishna, yeah. So, yeah, people will ask, well, where's the proof that there is,
Exactly.
who's the supreme higher authority? Where's the proof? People often ask that. It's just a belief, but you can't prove it.
Yeah, very good. All right, and then just an example of a belief would be, you know, someone believes in extraterrestrial life, for instance, you know. A religious conviction, Christian beliefs that, you know, the medieval system of fervent religious belief, belief in trust, faith, or confidence in someone or something. Okay, that's a basic dictionary definition of belief, and then a belief in democratic politics. Good luck finding that one. Then values, a person's principles and standards of behavior, one's judgment of what's important in life. Now, values are more general, and not related to any particular object or thing. Whereas you'll find that, hang on a second, I'm just trying to find something. Whereas beliefs, if we just see if I can. There was something. Oh no, yeah. They're more general. They're not related to an object. You know, where values are more judgmental and represent what ought to be. You know, like, can you name one of your values? Anyone can name a value.
Piety, honesty.
Honesty. Yeah. And so you feel that people should be honest, yeah?
Yeah.
When people are not honest, is that disturbing to you?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, because you feel this is the way it should be.
Yeah.
People should be honest, especially Brahmins.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also based on this value or this judgment, you'll respond in a particular way. It's just like, you know, I mean, I've been banging on about cleanliness again and again and again and again, you know, so I mean, that's, for me, that's a value. And when I go to some place that's unclean, I was talking about this in class this morning, the Bhagavatam class here, when someone who values cleanliness goes to a place which is unclean, they're repulsed. Yeah. So this is a value, yeah. And a value represents a single belief that guides actions and judgments across objects and situations. So the value, you know, because of the value you hold, then you'll respond to certain objects and certain situations in based on that value. And often you'll find that values are derived from social and cultural traditions and norms. And generally you'll find that values are much more enduring. It means, like, once you take up a value, it's not often that you'll change your values. Yeah. So, you know, personal principles, standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. Yeah. So there's so many things in Vaishnavism we value. Just like you look at the in the Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter, it talks about Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. But when you look at the Vaishyas and the Sudras, did anyone know those verses there that discuss there's three verses there that discusses Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras? So when it talks about Vaishyas and Sudras, it talks about activities. But when it talks about Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, it talks more about their values. Samadhamma taposya cham chantiraja mevaja jnanam vijnanam astikam brahma kama sabhavajam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, honesty, wisdom, religiousness. These are natural qualities by which they work. So these are like values. Yeah? You know, so people tend to, and this is a really important part of shaping values, is it tends to be that the values are shaped by our dominant role models, i.e. our parents. They tend to be the ones that influence us the most as our parents. Also, you might find that people that are prominent in your life, such as relatives, teachers, guru, you know, devotees that inspire you, mentors, these also will help you to develop your values, right? Attitudes. So attitudes are more specific, and they're more related to distinct objects, people, or events. Just like, you know, I mean, you know, in London, it's a very interesting place, and you know, like, okay, I'll give you an example of an attitude, and I'm not exactly sure. I haven't really analyzed the value that drives this, but we're walking down here from Merle's place to come to the temple today, and some people come out of the restaurant, right? And you know, it's like your narrow footpath, narrow street, parking along the street, so you can't easily go from the footpath to the street. People that come out of the restaurant and they just block the whole footpath and you can't go past. And I'm thinking, you know, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? You know, I didn't externally do anything, but just in my mind, I'm sort of processing this and I'm reacting to that event and to those people because of some kind of value I hold. You know, I guess it could be, you know, that I want to be on time for the devotees or something like that. But you see what I mean? How you respond to particular events and you take a particular attitude towards an event. Attitudes are they're like a predisposition, like a settled way of thinking or feeling about someone or something, typically one that's reflected in in a person's behavior. And you know, based on this predisposition, you'll respond in a positive, negative way to a particular environment. You know, so if you have a particular attitude, you know, you might respond in a positive way or not so much a positive way. And an attitude generally is shaped by different beliefs. It can be one or more belief and focus on a specific object or a situation. Just like, for instance, you might be traveling in India and you get out of a train. I know this because this happened to someone I know, and and um, and they got out of a train onto the platform and some, you know, I really don't want to typecast the person, but I don't know a better way of describing them. It's like a very, you know, unfortunate type of person, unclean, obviously didn't have much in the way of material resources and things like that. They touched this devotee's feet and the devotee was actually repulsed by the whole thing. So obviously they have beliefs in cleanliness, purity. Also, maybe they have a belief that, you know, this person is lesser than them. I don't know, you know, because I didn't choose to analyze it. But you can see when you get into different situations how the things you believe can influence the way you respond to a situation. Yeah. Um, and attitudes generally are derived from personal experience. And also attitudes tend to be less enduring because as our beliefs change or we internalize our beliefs more and more, then and also our values, we internalize our values more and more. Just like I'll give you an example. We talk about cleanliness, all right, and you know, for me, this is a really important thing. But as I learn more about what Prabhupada said, as I practice the process of devotional service more and more, then I deepen my attachment to being clean. I deepen my understanding of what it means to be clean, and I deepen my capacity to maintain a clean environment. So this is based on my beliefs and on my values, yeah, and the attitude matures as a result. Now, I just want to explore a few more things in relation to attitudes because these are very, very important. So these are factors that influence the formation of attitudes, just like an experience. Now, I remember when I presented this a while ago, I asked devotees, anyone here ever had an experience where they've been bitten by a dog or attacked by a dog or something like that?
Not for myself, but I know someone who had bad experience and that turned out to be their lifetime phobia kind of thing. So
Yeah, exactly. Very good point, Parameshwar. It turned out to be a lifetime phobia. I'll give you a graphic example from my life. My mother, she's passed away now. When she was a child, um, she was down at the Yarra River, which is the main river that goes through Melbourne. Um, there was some young boys. There was a jetty there, and they were running on the jetty, and they were about to jump in the water. And what happened is the shark alarm went off and they didn't hear the shark alarm. And it's a pretty gruesome experience, but it just shows you how these things can really affect people. My mother actually saw them jumping off the pier into the water and being eaten by the sharks. So she never went into the water from that day on. Her whole life, she did not go into the river. She did not go into the ocean because she was just petrified of sharks. So you can see how an experience can make such an indelible impression upon you that throughout your whole life, you can't give it up. And I think, if someone had tried to force her to go in the water, it might have been a terrorizing experience for her. It would have been very, very traumatic, if she wound up in a situation where she had to go into the water. And so social roles and norms, Can you think of any example where social roles and norms might influence us? No? We're living in a society that's very much shaped by social roles and norms. You just look around you in ISKCON, the way we dress, for instance, wearing tilak and shaved heads. And who raised their hand? I can't see.
It was me.
Marcy, yeah.
I was just going to say what you said about, because traveling into the course on the tube dressed in Vaishnav dress,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not normal apparently. So
Well, yeah, not normal for others, but quite normal for us. Yeah. So that's a
Yeah,
social role, that's a norm.
yeah, it's funny. We used to come from on the tube late night after Friday service, and Friday nights are always full on the tube. And we used to look at the people thinking that they are weird, and they used to think we are weird because we are in dhoti, kurta, and put tilak and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, you just said it's
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
There was a booklet put out years ago and it was all about that kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah. But also like, social roles, for instance, a sannyasi in ISKCON, isn't it we have quite high expectations of how a sannyasi should conduct himself,
Mm-hmm.
how a guru should conduct himself, how men and women should conduct themselves? The social roles are very, very important. And this other one, this classical and operant condition, this is really interesting. It's also called instrumental conditioning. It's a learning process where voluntary behaviors are modified by association with the addition of reward or punishment. I'll give you an example. For instance, I don't know what it was like when you guys went to school, but when I went to school, that was a long time ago. Um, and if you did really good work, you'd get a gold or silver star. Yeah. And then you become attached to this idea of getting a gold star or a silver star. So you work harder and harder and harder to get the star. So it's just a conditioning. The teacher is conditioning you to behave in a particular way. Yeah? And it's just like because I know some of you have children, and it's like when you're raising the child, whenever they do something good, what do you say? Manjulali, what do you say to your son when he's coming up?
Well done. That's amazing.
Exactly. You reinforce what you want. And when they do something you don't want, what do you say? The opposite, right?
That's not a good idea. You draw a boundary.
Yeah, you draw a boundary. You let them know. And so you reward positive things and you don't reward negative things. And I'll give you a really good example of that. It's like with these classes, I always try to start on time. Now that has this is a part of operant conditioning, is because when I start on time, that is rewarding those who come on time. But if I wait for those who are late, what that does is it's affirming with them it's okay to be late. So you can see how this functions in so many different ways. It's really, really important. And the last one here is really interesting, observing people in the environment. Um, and they give me a good example here. It's like the father's smoking, the son is thinking about the cigarette. They had an advertising campaign in Australia a number of years ago. And Australia's got a really interesting culture. Actually, there's a joke that we tell in Australia sometimes when we're talking with our overseas international guests and stuff like that. Is what's the difference between an Australian and a cup of yogurt? And of course, the punchline is that yogurt has culture. There's not much in the way of culture in Australia. But the things that you'll see in Australia is people are very much into eating meat, smoking cigarettes and other types of intoxicants, and drinking alcohol. I mean, they're very proud of how much alcohol they drink, and it's just outrageous to tell you the truth. We had a prime minister one time, and he was in actually the Guinness Book of Records for drinking a yard glass of alcohol faster than anyone in the world could do it. And that was our prime minister, so it gives you an idea of what Australia's like. Um, anyhow, whatever, the devotees aren't like that, by the way. The devotees are quite nice. But anyhow, they had this advertising campaign where where the father, he's out in the backyard, they're having a barbecue, which means they've got meat on the stove, on this open grill, open air grill, and they're cooking and the guy's standing there with a beer. He's holding the beer in the hand. He's got the cigarette sticking out his finger like that, and he's resting because one thing that happens is when you drink a lot of alcohol is you get what they call a beer gut, so you see the big sort of protruding thing, which makes the guys look like they're pregnant. And so he's sitting there with a tin sitting on his gut, and the child comes, running past. He calls his son and he says, "Go and get me a beer, would you?" So the son goes running in, and then you see him, and he's got a very distinctive T-shirt on, and then the clock fast forwards, and you see him as the father in exactly the same position as his father was, however many years ago, saying the same thing to his son. So you can see how our environment really shapes our attitudes. And this is why it's really important in the process of bhakti is to take the association of devotees. And there's a very nice verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Krishna Kaviraj explains Sadhu Sangha Shava Shastra Koi, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Savasiddha Hoy. That's the verdict of all revealed scriptures, and even by a moment's association with a Vaishnava, with a sadhu, one can achieve all success. So just a little bit of a discussion there on how our attitudes are formed and how it's really important to be careful about what experiences we get, to be careful who we associate with, and be careful what kind of external stimulus we accept. If you sit in front of television or YouTube or whatever it is all day long watching all sorts of nonsense, that's going to influence you how you kind of develop your attitudes and things like that. So it's very important. And this is a bit of another look at it in terms of attitudes and evaluative statement or judgment towards objects, people, or events based on an individual's own perception. There's different components of an attitude. One is the cognitive, or the opinion or belief segment. One is the affective, which is the emotional, feeling of a segment, and behavioral is an intention to behave in a particular way toward someone or something. So these are very much also components of an attitude. Now, behavior, we're looking at behavior now as kind of the way in which one acts or conducts oneself towards others. So this is more the external, and it's influenced by attitudes, by character traits, by biological factors. Uh, you know, just like you see sometimes people have physical or intellectual disabilities, and this affects the way they act. I heard a case some time ago where the police had thrown someone who was disadvantaged down on the ground and tasered them just because the way they were acting was deemed by them to be threatening. And the mother was there screaming at them, no, he's got a disability, and the police didn't listen because they felt threatened. So you can see how even someone with a disability, they could be, I mean, generally speaking, people with disabilities are not threatening to anyone, but in certain circumstances, we can see that. So, different ideas. And it's often based on stimuli. When someone acts to you in a particular way, then you'll respond. And then, again, another way of looking at it. So beliefs generally are spiritual, moral, social, intellectual, economic, political. Values they're more abstract. They're guiding principles in your life: freedom, honesty, equality, stuff like that. And then as we mentioned before, the three components of attitudes. And here is another way, is your beliefs, and you look at these things: culture, faith, education, experience, mentors. These all influence our beliefs, and you hold these things to be true. It's just like, if you had like a dominant mentor when you were growing up, and they were particularly moral, particularly, they had very clear beliefs and stuff. This is going to shape you when you grow older. And there's so many examples we see of that. Education, if you get a bad education or a good education, this is going to shape how you are when you grow up. And then your values, what's important to you: success in your career, your family, your wealth, whatever. And then attitudes, and then finally your behavior. Right, and you can see again how these things influence each other. Beliefs influence values, influence attitudes, and influence behaviors, which again can help shape our beliefs. And how do they relate? Attitudes, established ways of responding to people and situations based on the values we hold. And we can see this kind of thing The values, shape your attitudes, which then produce the behaviors. Now, another way of looking at this also, which is really important, I feel, is how my attitude affects my behavior, affects your attitude, affects your behavior, which affects my attitude. Like, it's cyclical. And I'm wondering, can anyone think of an example in Scripture where someone acted in a particular way and then someone responded in kind? Can you think of any examples of that? I mean, I can think of some examples of the opposite. But what
Sorry,
about?
can you repeat that question, Babu? Sorry.
Okay,
Someone.
in any example in Scripture where
Yeah.
someone acted in a particular, either positive or negative way, and then the person they were acting with or acting towards or whatever interacting with interacted in kind in the same way. Rasanava Prabhu?
Prabhu, I can think of an example of Madai and Nityananda Prabhu. When Madai hit Nityananda Prabhu, Nityananda Prabhu was compassionate to him.
Yeah.
Obviously, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was trying to punish him, but Nityananda Prabhu was very calm.
But that's the opposite of what I'm thinking of. I'm trying to think of a behavior where someone acted badly and then the other person acted in the same way.
Oh, in the same way. Okay.
I can't think of any examples right now, but I know there are examples. I can think of some where the opposite, because usually what happens, say for instance, I act because of my attitude, right? I meet someone and I don't like them, and then I act in such a way that, or just like, okay, I met Radhika Raman downstairs today. Radhika Raman's an old friend, and I saw him in the temple room. I embraced him. He stood up, he embraced me, and it was a very warm exchange. So because I had a particular attitude towards him, I behaved in a particular way, then he also responded in kind. And you'll see the same is there when we have a bad attitude towards someone, we're going to act in a negative way, and this will then prompt them. And it becomes like a whole false ego thing. It's like because of my false ego, because I'm not unable to control my mind and senses, then I act badly towards someone else, and that affects them, and they're unable to control their mind and senses. Yeah.
So Dhruva Maharaj killing Yakshas.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, because he was angry because the Yakshas had killed his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was his brother's name? Uttam. Yeah. Good example. Can anyone think of the opposite? I can think of a number of nice examples.
There are plenty. Parikshit Maharaj first.
Parikshit Maharaj, when he was cursed.
He didn't counter curse.
He could have counter cursed, exactly. Yeah. He could have counter cursed, but no, he just took, what did he take it as? What did he accept it as?
Blessings to connect to Krishna.
He took it as the will of the Lord. And also you see Jad Bharat and Maharaj Rahugana.
Yeah.
Maharaj Rahugana was very, very abrasive towards Jad Bharat and called him all sorts of ill names. And what did Jad Bharat do?
Yes. Preached him finally.
And he just preached the philosophy, the absolute truth. And Rahugana was so struck by Jad Bharat's purity and his complete detachment from the material world. He was overwhelmed, and he actually bowed. He got down off his palanquin and he bowed down to Jad Bharat and accepted him as his guru. And then also we see Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati, and then he got down off his his astral, his celestial airplane, and he started to preach to Mother Parvati. He said, "Well, nothing wrong with what I said, but if you think I was wrong, then please forgive me, and I accept your curse, and Hare Krishna, thank you." And what happened as a result of that is Parvati was just dumbstruck, and she had to ask her husband, Lord Shiva, to clarify what's happened there. So we see how it's really interesting how when we act in the wrong way, but towards somebody, and they respond in kind, it tends to exacerbate the whole thing. But if someone is rude to us or unkind to us or something like that, but we act in a positive way, this can really bring about a complete change in the situation, a complete change in consciousness. And if we're sufficiently advanced in Krishna consciousness, it can actually help them to progress on the spiritual path. Yeah.
There's also the story of King Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasya Muni.
Yeah, that's a
But
really
he
good
was trying
story.
to kill him, but he didn't exactly respond in the same way. He was still, in fact, waiting for him to come back so that he can serve him prashadam. So it was the total opposite effect of what Durvasa Muni was doing.
Yeah, a very good example. Thank you, Manmohini Manaji. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so we've got our icebergs come back. And so the knowledge and skills, this is more what we can perceive, what you can witness, what can be assessed. And this is like when we're doing the assessment, this is what we're looking at, is the knowledge and skills. But, from having been doing this assessment for almost, well, actually more than 20 years now, we're also able to determine the values and attitudes that drive this. So this is what we're really trying to instill in you, is the values of being a Pujari, the values of being a servant of Krishna. Yeah, and the whole devotional process is about awakening those values. Now, beliefs. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to go through all of these, but well, I'm just going to have to skip the slides because it takes too long. Well, actually, let's just look at the first slide. I think that'll be good. Let's look at the first slide and then we'll skip. So this is one of our beliefs that's being established by the GBC. Lord Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna is the independent controller of all energies, both material and spiritual. Sri Krishna's internal energy facilitates the endless enjoyment and bliss he derives from his loving relationship with his devotees. Now, just thinking of those, what type of values would we develop from these kind of beliefs? What would you value? Just one or two.
Will be obedient to Krishna, his personality.
Yeah, well, but obedience is more of a behavior. What would be a value?
Well, you believe God as opposed to being an atheist or an agnostic.
Okay, so you have a healthy belief in God. You value. It might be you value the association of godly people.
And we see life in others, like in animals and all as well. Being
Yeah.
They are part and parcel of, so that comes with an ahimsa, and then looking at every entity as equally, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you might value going to places where they glorify God or serve God. And a value you might also develop from the second one is to understand, to accept that all material and spirit, all the material and spiritual world, everything in the material world, that verse 529, that actually he's the controller. Therefore, everything I have is Krishna's. Therefore, my car, my computer, my house, my family, I look after them because they're Krishna's, not because they're mine. So that's a value we might develop. And what about, can you think of some attitudes that might come from such values?
That you can have a loving, intimate relationship with Krishna. He can.
Okay, and how would that manifest as a behavior then?
It affects your. It makes it personable. Your attitude is a bit more personable towards Krishna than it just being some energy out there and you can't really
towards Krishna, but who else?
Yeah.
Devotees as well.
His devotees and his associates.
Well, to every other living entity, because we see they're also part and parcel of Krishna. So you can see how our beliefs, even though we may not necessarily delve into this so much, how our beliefs really affect every aspect of our existence. So that's why, I think classes like this are really important to help us to understand. Now, I don't want to run into Murli Manohar Prabhu's time because, it's... So I'm just going to skip over. I wanted to play a lecture for you. Just listen to this lecture if you can. It's only a few minutes. It's an extract from a lecture Prabhupada gave in 1969 in Los Angeles. So I hope it plays. Oh, actually, I don't think I shared the slideshow for sound. Let me try again. Can you hear that? Can you hear it?
No, the audio is not coming yet.
Okay, let me hang on. I'll just stop the share, and I'll share again. Yeah, I just remembered then. But you're supposed to hear the sound. It says share sound. I don't know. Sometimes I get bewildered by all this technology, I tell you. Let me see. Share sound. All right. And let me just go back here. Keynote, values and attitude. All right. And go back up.
If we simply
Can you hear that now?
that will not do.
Yes.
Okay.
So, do not try to imitate. Follow the simple rules and regulations. It is very nice. And above all, chant Hare Krishna, you become purified. Without being purified, you cannot touch Radha Krishna. In the Vedas it is stated, without becoming Brahma, you cannot approach Brahma. Just like without becoming fire, you cannot approach fire. Because the inconsistency of temperature, it will burn. Just like here is fire, and I am feeling temperature. But the fire flames within the fire, they do not feel. Because the temperature is the same. Similarly, without becoming Brahma, without understanding oneself, realizing himself, and nobody can, Krishna is the Param Brahma. Parabrahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Purusam Shashvatam. Therefore one has to keep himself very purified. Otherwise you cannot touch Krishna. That is not possible. It is fire. So you have to become fire. And how to become fire? Fire, you are also fire. But now you are covered fire. Covered by this material body. Therefore, you have to spiritualize this body by purificatory process. The same example, just like the iron rod, it is iron, but you put into the fire, it becomes warmer, then red hot, and then it is fire. Similarly, by this process, chanting process, by regulative process, it is, you are becoming warmer, and when you fully become red hot warm, then your body is as good as Krishna's. So, we have to keep ourselves always in the fire of Krishna consciousness, then everything is all right. Otherwise, it will become dull and it will be simply idol worship. That's all. That is the difference between idol worship and deity worship. If there is no life, then it is idol worship, heathenism. And when there is life, feeling, where is Krishna? Here is Krishna. Oh, I have to serve Krishna. I have to dress him. I have to serve Radharani. She is here. Oh, I must do it very nicely. And as far as possible, decorate her to the best capacity. In this, if you always feel Krishna conscious, then you are fire. The same example, keeping with the fire. And if you think it is brass made dull, I am to say, idol. Jijathamang prapaddante tang sathaiva bhajam. If you think this is a brass made idol, then it will remain a brass made idol to you forever. But if you elevate yourself to higher platform of Krishna consciousness, then Krishna, this Krishna will talk with you. this Krishna will talk with him. There is a Banshidas Babaji Maharaj. He was talking with his deity. Krishna, just like Madan Mohan. He was talking with Sanatana Goswami. Madan Mohan, Sanatana Goswami at that time had no temple. He was hanging his deity on the tree. So Madan Mohan was talking with him, Sanatana, you are bringing all these dry chapatis and it is stale and you don't give me even little salt. How can I eat? Sanatana Goswami says, sir, where shall I go? Whatever I get, I offer you. You kindly accept. I cannot move, old man. So Krishna had to eat that. Because the bhakta is offering, he cannot refuse. Jimang bhaktya prajach. The real thing is bhakti. What you can offer to Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna. What you have got, what is your value? And what is the value of your things? It is nothing. Therefore, the real thing is bhaktya. Real thing is your feeling. Krishna, kindly take it. I have no qualification. I am most rotten, fallen. But I have brought this thing for you. Please take. This will be accepted. Don't be perturbed. Always be careful. You are dealing with Krishna. That is my request.
Okay. So can you think of any quick values that are identified in that lecture by Prabhupada?
Purity, austerity.
Purity, austerity. And what was Prabhupada's overall mood, do you think?
He was saying that nothing belongs to us. Everything belongs to Krishna. We who are we to offer Krishna anything? It has no value. So it was in a very humble,
Yeah, that's the thing that struck me also. Very, very humble. It's just extraordinary how humble he is. It just at least gives me something to aspire for, to become just a little bit like that. Rasanava, bro?
Another point was, bro, what we think is what will end up as. So if someone thinks it's just a brass metal or element or metal, it will be like that forever. So that's how it will end up eventually. So that's what another point.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. Anyone else before I hand it over to Meli Manohar?
Just question, please.
Sure.
Huh?
What I might suggest, you could just use the lesson and I'll continue the teaching.
Yeah, I'm not prepared for it.
Okay, you might have that.
We've got a bit of a glitch here. It's like Merle doesn't have his computer with him. He's meant to go on to the next lesson. Anything else you can think of?
I just got a whole mood of simplicity, because the way Prabhupada explained what you have to do, it just made it all sound really, explained it really simply, explaining that you, like fire, you're like covered fire, and to become pure, to be able to approach Krishna and to offer everything. It was just really simply put. So
Yeah.
really simple.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I often reflect on when not close to dormant, when I hear things like that from Srila Prabhupada, is because of his deep advancement in devotional service, he's able to present very, very complicated things in such an easy manner, and it's just like, wow, that's so easy to understand. So yeah, very, very good. Anything, Manjulali?
Well, I guess, going back to the theme of beliefs, I mean, really what he's saying as well, I picked up, I think, was how our beliefs influence the way in which we perceive things, and shape our, for instance, going back to the deity, if you believe that it's just brass, it is just brass. But actually, if your beliefs are that we believe that the deity is non-different from Krishna, then we will perceive the deity.
Yeah, that's a really good observation, really good realization is that your beliefs are really going to shape your development of values. And if you actually believe, as you're saying, if you believe that the deity is directly Krishna, then you're not going to treat him as a brass-made idol. You're going to treat him, your behavior will manifest that he's gone.
Something else Prabhupada said when his voice was choking up, that we shouldn't be so puffed up when we are making in opulent offerings to Krishna, because none of that actually comes from us. It all comes from Krishna, that we shouldn't have any pride when we are think we are offering something really, oh, look at me, I'm offering something really amazing to Krishna. We shouldn't have that attitude. We shouldn't have that attitude.
Very, very good point, because I remember one time I had this devotee, he came up to me and he was cooking an offering for the deity. He said, I'm really going to, knock the socks off the Lord, with his offering. And I'm kind of thinking, I was like, that's not really the right attitude, That's not really the right attitude at all. But actually, I'm just going to do my best to serve Krishna, to please Krishna. Just 1 second, just I just thought it wasn't really the right attitude for the devotee to have. So, Manjulali, you had another point? No, take your hand down. Okay, so what else? Now, what I want to do here is, this is going to be fairly basic, because it'll be all right, because there's only a few of us here. But what I'd like to do is, I'm going to break you into groups. I'm not going to physically break you, but I'm going to put you into different groups. And we're going to look at this exercise, right? So we've got these cards, all right?
I suggest you just carry on with your lesson here, and we'll have to fit in the other.
Okay, no worries. Yeah. We can do it online or something. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to divide into groups, be 5 groups, okay? So I'll just automatically assign the groups. And I think what happens is let me just check to make sure that I've got this right. So I've got these group works. They're A6 cards, and on each card we've got A, B, C, D, E, right? And so on each card there's a topic, and it's about developing values and attitudes. So what I'll do is we'll go and we'll move into groups. Host tools. Draw breakout rooms. There they are. We're breaking out. Create 5 rooms. Okay. And then I think the groups are numbered. I'll pop these. Actually, what I'll do is I'll pop these in the WhatsApp chat now, so you have access to them. Right, there it is there. There's 5 things there. And I think the groups will come up the same as A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 will be A, 2 will be B. Okay, is that clear? And just open the card that's relevant to your group. Don't open the other one, because otherwise it might spoil things. Okay, or you might start thinking about what's on the other card. All right. So, any question on that, Chitrapalasini? You're clear?
Is there something in the chat that you just put? Did you say?
No, I put them in the WhatsApp group because it's not easy to paste PDFs into the Zoom chat, but it's easy to do it in WhatsApp. Yeah.
Okay, so
Prabhu, once we open the relevant document, we will know what to do, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll be going through all the rooms just to make sure you're kind of on track with this. It takes about 15 minutes, yeah.
And the group is all the cards are same, is it, or different?
No. There's 5 different cards.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. Group 1 or A or whatever it's called takes card A. Group 2 take card B. Group 3 take card C, etc. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll go into the groups and I'll start visiting.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So room 1 will be card A, room 2 will be card B, room 3 will be card C, room 4 D, and room 5 E. Please just get them from WhatsApp and away we go. And you'll have to click on the link to go to the room. Oh, oh no. Move to Kesha and Madhava are lying down. Very well. Okay. Didn't lose anyone, did we? Good. We will come back. Fantastic. So it seemed like the conversations still got a few coming, I think. Two more to come. Just wait for the last two groups to come. Mohini and who else we got? 2, 4, 6, one more. Here we go, Parameshwar. Okay, it's. I mean, I visited all the rooms, and the conversations, at least what I saw, were quite robust. So we had in Group A, we had. Were you in Group A, Vipin Bihari Prabhu, or B?
I was in Group B, Prabhu.
B. So Parameshwar, you were. No, hang on. Group A. Well, yeah, you were in Group A, Parameshwar. Yeah, I think you were in Group A with Manmohini, yeah.
Yeah.
So you like to who's your spokesperson? Was you or Manmohini?
Manamohini Mataji. She's going
Okay.
to, because she has written all the things, so yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but Prabhuji, he's going to just jump in if I probably inevitably miss things out. So he's just going to, so we do it together. So our first question was identify positive behavior. And there were 3 questions arising from that. What behaviors are desired of a pujari? So we'll discuss the first one, and we found there was quite an overlap between the behaviors, attitudes, and values in Krishna.
You're on mute.
Mute all that time.
No,
sorry, our
just
question.
the last few seconds we didn't hear.
Oh, I'm going to move my book because I think I pressed the button by mistake. So we found there was an overlap between the behaviors, attitudes, and values in Krishna consciousness. So the behaviors desired of a pujari, there was quite a few. So having integrity, humbleness, being respectful to others, being respectful to other pujaris that you are working with in the pujari room, because it can be quite stressful and busy working in that department. So being respectful to everybody, being cooperative as well, because you are a role model to other aspiring pujaris. So that's all I could. Is there anything else you want to add to the behaviors from Eshwar before I?
No, yeah.
Okay, and then moving on to the attitudes. Next question was, what attitudes will produce these behaviors? So what?
Well, can we maybe just look at the
Yeah.
the behaviors first, because I think you've identified a few really important things there, especially this idea of teamwork, because I mean, I don't know if you've been on the altar here, but it's quite a compressed place. The whole deity department is quite compressed. So if you don't have that concept of teamwork, if you want to be like the individual and doing everything your way, it creates a lot of tension, or potentially can create a lot of tension. So very good you identified that one. And the other one you identified was?
That was a cooperative one, being respectful to others.
So similar kind of idea. It's a similar kind of working well with others. Yeah. Okay, very good. And so you want to look at your attitudes then, please?
So what attitudes will produce these behaviors? So we, as you've mentioned in the course, punctuality, attitude of being punctual and being clean. That's very important. And we came up with self-control, and leadership was something else that we'd come up with, leadership, which I think overlaps with role model, and again, honesty as well, and those are just a few, because there's quite a few that overlap.
Yeah, sure. But again, you're identifying really important attitudes there, and I particularly like that one about the role model. And I think that's for us, for devotees of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, this is a really important point. Srila Prabhupada wanted us all to become Goswamis. He wanted us all to set example. I remember years ago, I was speaking to some guest at a program, and in a challenging way, he said to me, "You're trying to set yourself up as an example." And I thought about it for a second. I said, "Yes, actually, that's the fact. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to set an example for others to follow, because we understand what we have is the highest religion. And so if we can inspire others to become God conscious, then yeah, great." Okay, and so values, what do you have in terms of values?
Yeah, so one, as we were discussing it, sometimes it can depends on what your guru's values are. So that might be something that you also want to cultivate, because you're representing your guru. So could since wanting a sincere desire to serve as a servant. So it's quite important to have that, that values that we're here to serve
Right.
one another, not to lord it over, and have that false ego, and cooperating with others. That's very important, that we all, again, it goes back to teamwork, but cooperating,
Right.
and having character-based morals. So because your character is based on your values. So
Yeah,
again,
very good.
we mentioned integrity, but kindness and being friendly, having that friendly kindness nature, and also being responsible and not being reckless, especially as you're Pujari of the highest order. You can't decide, oh, one day I'm just going to have a day off from my austerity, and I'm just going to go and be reckless for the day. So it's a very responsible position. So because you have to follow certain rules and regulations, and commitment as well to your service. It's important to be reliable. And some of the things, it was also commitment to your sadhana, that your sadhana shouldn't suffer while you're doing your service. And
Right.
value could also mean the shastras. It's important to read the shastras, rather than that's something is very important to certain devotees, is following the shastras.
And one thing also very important to that, it's really important to read the books of Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Other shastras are kind of like interesting, but like you look at the different Puranas and stuff that you can get these days. They're interesting, but they haven't been translated by someone who has realization of God. They're usually translated by scholars, whereas Prabhupada was directly seeing Krishna. So when he tells us Krishna is like this, you know that he knows that, because he's having that direct conversation with Krishna. Very, very good points. Thank you so much. Vipina Bihari, you were in a group with who? With Rupa, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And you were talking about what
So
behavior is undesirable.
that's yeah. So what behaviors are undesirable in a pujari? So we came up with a list of things. The first one identified was being unclean, and
Haribol!
not
Thank you for identifying that.
yeah, and the second one is not being punctual.
Okay, very good.
So yeah, so that were the two. Well, we've got more. We also discussed about uh, doing the service mode of ignorance. For example, not doing the atman properly, not to be diligent while doing the atman, missing out things while doing the
Yeah,
atman.
cutting corners, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, very good.
and yeah, and while cooking or cleaning or doing mundane gossip, talking about mundane things.
Very good.
Yeah, and also we talk about mode of passion, cooking very fast just because for the sake of cooking, but not to do it in mode of devotion.
Yeah.
And we also identified something is like when sometimes pujaris are cooking, and when the Mahabhasharam come up, they 90% of it is gone because they've taken them rather than leaving it for
I
distribution.
I know some temples with like big temples, and on major festivals, that the altar is covered with prasadam, but hardly any of it actually gets out to the devotees. The pujaris take everything. and some of it winds up rotting because it's more than they can eat, and they hide it in the dress rooms and things like that. So yeah, not desirable qualities.
Yeah.
And what would be the opposite of that?
Well, the opposite of that is to be able to think about sharing prasadam and sharing the mercy. Of course, being punctual and maintaining the high standard of cleanliness.
Yeah. Because that's one of the things, as a pujari, you're on the altar with the deities every day. You get so much mercy. The mercy we get, as pujaris is just incredible. So we don't need to be positioning ourselves to try and get more and more mercy. All we need to do is just serve, and the mercy comes. All right. So what about attitudes? Did you explore the attitudes at all?
Yeah, we did. So what we discussed was lack of proper training. So not being given the training required uh, to the somebody who's coming into the service in the Pujara department, and lack of proper example being set
Right.
by Pujaris
So
being the department.
these are important points, but do you think they're really attitudes, or they're more just an environment?
Uh, I mean, we felt that um, it was attitude picked up from others.
Okay, yeah,
Like that.
that's good. Yeah, because from association we learned so much, and that was in the slideshow I was putting up. It was showing you how attitudes are formed by experiences
Yeah.
and social pressures and things like that. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, the other one we discussed was being complacent. So another attitude picked up by being complacent. So we just a service we've been doing, and then we see others, they're just going there doing service in a robotic fashion, and we do the same thing again because think this is how the norm is there. So so complacency was
Well,
one.
and
Yeah.
that's also a really good point, because one thing I will sometimes feel the need to correct devotees on is they might be polishing the deity, or offering something to the deity, and they're distracted and they're looking at something else, or and they're not noticing that they're polishing the deity's eyes or something like that. So because we're engaging with a person, and not just any person, but the supreme person, we need to be very focused on the service. So very good point, people to be hungry. Something else you had?
No, that was the two on
And
attitude
values?
and values. We talked about not reading and hearing adequately. So not reading Prabhupada's books
So
and not hearing.
not valuing Shastra, or the need to study
Yeah,
Shastra. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
very good.
uh, and also lack of association with devotees. So not associating
So
enough.
what's the value there?
So
The behavior is not associating. What's the value behind that?
so we picked up the saintly qualities, the Brahminical
Well,
qualities.
they don't value the association of devotees. They don't value the benefits of hearing from saintly devotees.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, they don't value this. So so they haven't been associating.
Hmm. And there's quite a common thing you'll see in ISKCON. Is like devotees will come to the temple only when the guru comes, but when there's some visiting sadhu, they won't come. The fact that it mentions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says sadhu sangha, shava shastra hoy, lava matra sadhu sangha, sadhu siddha hoy. It's the verdict of all the revealed scriptures that even by a moment's association with a sadhu, one can attain all success in spiritual life. So the association of sadhus, not just the guru, is so important, because sadhus give you different experience, different perspectives, and sadhus, they have their experience as devotees, and they can share with you, how to become successful as a devotee by their own experience. So to associate with sadhus, just like this Friday night, Shivaram Swami is coming. So it's really important that we all have that opportunity to hear from him. So we don't have classes on that night. And so sadhu sangha, very, very important. You have anything else, Bipin Haripur?
Yeah, we talked about chanting qualities. So we're not chanting very
Very
well.
good, very good.
We're not chanting very well, not attentive in chanting, and lack of humility, lack of gratitude towards others. And also we talked about not not being austere enough in their sadhana. So, for example, not observing fast and not eating. Not strictly observing prasadam, taking prasadam, but eating from outside restaurant and things like that.
Yeah. And the point you mentioned the points of humility and gratitude. That really came out in that lecture from Prabhupada, I thought, about humility. Be careful. You're dealing directly with Krishna. I thought that really came out very well in that lecture. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was really interesting. All right, and I think we had Chitra. No, who was it in the last group? There was Rasana. No, Rasana was in the group 4. Keshav, Madhav, and who else? Who was in group C? You were Chitra Blasini.
With Manjari, just us two.
Oh, that was you two. Okay, yeah, okay, sorry, group C. Yeah. And so what your discussion was sadhana, yeah?
Yeah, it says what influence does sadhana
It's a very, very, very interesting conversation or very interesting discussion in this group, by the way. Yeah.
So it just asks us, what influence does sadhana and other regulated spiritual practices have on developing values, attitudes, and behavior? Why, and the question, why we emphasize attending morning program?
Okay.
So, first of all, we were identifying about what does sadhana mean in terms of what we do. And we're talking about things like the 4 regulative principles, chanting, some of the austerities,
Right.
and reading and morning program. And first of all, the discussion about values and attitudes didn't necessarily come forth straight away. So we focused on behaviors, and that, like, for example, going to morning program, and how that is helping. Then the values and attitudes started to come out from understanding what that is doing for us.
Yeah, very good.
That it's kind of setting you up to be in the association of devotees, it's giving you the structure, it's at the auspicious time, you're getting your rounds done, and then your own habit is getting reinforced, and maintaining the right mood. And then it was mentioned about that you're hearing the scriptures, and then that is I think when you came into the room and mentioned this about the scriptures is it's giving you the right mood, so you're making your effort, and then that it's being reinforced.
Yeah, and the beliefs very much come from the scriptures also, because a lot of these beliefs, because many of us came from, and I'm sure you have this experience, came from probably a Judeo-Christian type of background, and that gives you one belief system. But then when you come to Christian consciousness and you start reading the scriptures, it does tend to turn a lot of those beliefs, upside down.
I guess we were talking about just some of the prayers that we say as part of the morning program, like Vanchakalpa Trubhischa, and how that cultivates a particular attitude, doesn't it, in terms of humility, and we're also talking about and I guess we were saying that in terms of your belief and your values, the more you value something, the more you would invest in and take it more seriously. If you have a high value base, that spiritual life or believing in Krishna is very important. The more you would surrender, right? The less your belief or value base, then the less you'll surrender. You don't carry it as a high value.
And that's why it's really important, and this is one of the aspects of the morning program, like Mangalati, Tulsi Puja, Japa, Darshan, Guru Puja, Bhagavatam class, because we're constantly reminded of these things. You might call it like brainwashing, or sometimes people call it brainwashing and conditioning, but it's positive conditioning. It helps us to develop these qualities. So yeah, it's very good. Anything else came out from your discussion?
I guess it was just based on what you were just saying there, Prabhu, in terms of the importance of the morning program and it kind of helping you to set up set yourself up for the day, being in the mode of goodness, isn't it? And then as you continue throughout the day, passion, ignorance, if you've had that positive start, then that can really shape the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's very good. Very good indeed. Chitra Vilasini, you had anything else you wanted to add into that?
Yes, there was a couple of things that one about by being in, you're going to Guru Puja, it's all set out for you. You don't have to reinvent anything. And also Guru Puja, so we're all cooperating. So that came back to the attitudes, like we're all remembering that we're all serving Sri Prabhupada's mission. And what was the other thing? Oh yes, that it's not, although yes, we are all doing the same thing at the same time. So it can be said to be ritual in that sense. We're all bowing down at the same time, but it's not, it has value because it's not just empty ritual. So that was the only other things.
But also the important thing is just like, you know, it is explained about how when you know the purpose of a mantra, the mantra becomes pure. When you know the purpose of the ritual, you know what the ritual's about, it's no longer ritualistic, but it's actually part of a spirit, an act of devotion, part of a spiritual practice. But you'll see in some religions, there's some of the traditions they have, they're so old that the meaning or the understanding of the ritual is lost in antiquity and no one really knows what it's about. Yet they still do it. So that becomes ritualistic. But if you actually understand the function of the ritual, and that's why we do these courses, is so you understand the function of the rituals. That's very important. Okay, can we go to the last group? That was Keshav Madhav and Rasanava Gopal, and they had a very interesting topic. They were looking at pastimes and how the values and attitudes of particular devotees enabled them to interact with the deity. So who's taking notes there, Keshav?
Madhav.
Madhav was taking notes, okay.
So the pastime that came up kind of immediately was the pastime of Sakshi Gopal and how he traveled from Vrindavan to Vidyanagar just to prove, to make, not to make, to help the old Brahmana not break his principle of truthfulness. And well, Prabhu reminded us of this, but the reason why they could, Sakshi Gopal went there himself to prove that he was a witness to the promise the old Brahmana made, was because both the old Brahmana and the young Brahmana had so much faith and they directly believed that Gopal was not just any deity, he was actually Krishna himself there. And there are two examples of this. First, when the old Brahmana was insisting on giving his daughter to marriage to the young Brahmana told him, then if you're insisting, then let's do it in front of Gopal's so that he can be the witness.
Right.
The second part is when, that's the part who told us.
So what about the values? What were the values you thought were there that enabled the young Brahmana to have that exchange with the deity? Because he was actually talking with the deity, and the deity walked from Vrindavan to Vidyanagar. So what enabled that to happen?
But first, I think that the value of truthfulness meant a lot to them.
Yeah.
Because the reason why the young Brahmana didn't just abandon that promise and went away was because he didn't go to Gopal just so that he could marry his daughter. He could marry the old Brahmana's daughter. He went to Gopal to ask him to be a witness, to prove that he was a witness, because he could not bear the pain of the old Brahmana breaking his promise.
Yeah, that's very, very, very nice quality, isn't it? It was actually, it was distressful for him.
Yeah.
That it looked like the old Brahmana's word would not be true, and for a Brahmana truth is very, very important. That a Brahmana will tell the truth, even if telling the truth could be detrimental to them. So it's very important. Okay, anything else you came up with in terms of values?
I think there was another value also, honesty. When the old Brahmana said to young Brahmana that I'll give my daughter to you, he was very honest in saying that I'm an uneducated and poor person. I'm not eligible. So it's not that if someone suddenly thinks of giving something to us, we immediately say, yeah, we try to accept it. But here, the young Brahmana was very, very honest in his qualities. He didn't, bluff anything as such, or he was not over the moon as soon as he told that. So that was one. And the last quality value or we also found was this when the Lord was pleased and he said, I'm happy to give whatever blessing you want. None of them, young and old Brahmana, didn't ask anything, any material things. They just simply asked the Lord to be there. So that means that shows the detachments to material things as well. So that is that was another value, detachment.
Yeah. So they're obviously, both the Brahmanas were very advanced devotees. Otherwise, they couldn't have had that exchange.
Yes, both of them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and hopefully you found that exercise interesting and helpful. And also, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. And looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I mean, maybe Manjulali, you probably won't make it tomorrow, but I will try again to see if we can get a broadcast. I'm not sure if it will happen, but I'll try.
Is it 6:30 or 6?
Let me have a look. I think it's probably
6 to 9 somewhere. I don't know, maybe wrong, but somewhere.
I haven't sent the schedule out yet, just because it's not clear to me. It's 6:30 till 9. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Is it okay?
Thank you.
And so we'll be doing we'll start doing the Archman assessment tomorrow, and we'll also be doing Soja Puja practice. Yeah.
Prabhu, you mentioned the Archman assessment. Do you mean like with the cleanliness or actually us practically doing it?
Doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, so practice, and I'll ask for volunteers, but if no one volunteers, then I'll have the unfortunate savor of having to volunteer somebody. Chitralasini?
Yeah, I am at that funeral tomorrow, so if
You what?
I'm at the funeral tomorrow, so if there's
yeah.
any way that I can get there, but
but don't kill yourself trying to do it. I mean, as we've discussed before, life has its way of throwing sort of curveballs at you, and you just have to kind of negotiate them the best way you can. So, if you can make it, we'll really be happy to have you there. But I can't say enjoy the funeral, but anyhow, they're not the most enjoyable occasions, but we have our social obligations.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, thank you very much, dear Vaishnavas, and looking forward to having your association either tomorrow or on the weekend. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki, Jai Nitai Go Premanandi.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.